Come, gather around. But don't be too loud. Today, we will be talking about something that was not permitted in France for a very long time. The story of Victor Hugo, who was a French man, politician, poet, and novelist who advocated for the rights of humans, who advocated for the social economic equality in France, and who had strong political views against the monarchy. However, this caused some trouble, and he was exiled from France for a long period of time when Napoleon III came to power. Today, we'll be discussing how this happened, why this happened, and why this was important. Now, why was Victor Hugo an outlaw? Well, we could start at the very beginning, but instead, let's start where it gets interesting. Today I have with me a fictional book based on not-so-fictional facts of the past of a man who went to Napoleon III to try to convince him to allow Victor Hugo back into the country during his exile. Chapter 1. The Plea. Napoleon, please, you have to let Victor Hugo back into the country. It's been 15 years. No. Why not? He not only advanced French society, but also the European society in so many ways. He displayed different types of characters in his writing, people of different racial backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, different religions, different philosophies, people of different physical abilities, and by including all these different characters in his literature, he was able to put many people in another person's shoes, which is something that not a lot of literature in European society had previously. This advanced our social sector tremendously with books like Hunchback of Notre Dame and Les Miserables, which showed different people in different facets of life and their struggles, and we were able to become more empathetic as a society because of him. He also not only pushed for social reform, but also economic reform by showing people how many people in European society were not able to rise in the socioeconomic ranks because of false hierarchies and policies put in place by monarchs. It doesn't matter if Britannica or Wikipedia or Deborah Elise White in her article, Victor Hugo's Romantic Exile, think this man might have done something from the country. He was disobedient and he made fun of me. Well, he's not entirely wrong. Victor Hugo did make fun of Napoleon a lot. Before he was exiled, Victor Hugo was an avid voice in French media. He advocated for things like free education, voting rights, and against the death penalty. According to InspirationFeed.com, Victor Hugo said, "The three great problems of the century are the degradation of man in the proletariat, the subjugation of woman through hunger, and the atrophy of the child by darkness." He also said, "The little people must be sacred to the big ones. It is from the rights of the weak that the duty of the strong is comprised." Finally, he said, "Men become accustomed to poison by degrees." Now, although not said explicitly, Victor Hugo dropped a lot of little hints in his speeches and books and novels and poems that he was against the structure of the French government, specifically the structure of the monarchy. He thought that the monarchy infringed on the rights of the people and that it was a sort of disease that was preventing them from advancing into society. According to Deborah Elise White in her article, Victor Hugo's Romantic Exile, Victor Hugo looked up to his godfather, Victor de la Hurie, who was also against the monarchy, and he had told him, "Child, remember this, liberty before all." Now again, this is a sort of democratic viewpoint that Victor Hugo embodied and that he advocated for in his speeches and literature. Jean-Claude Caron, in his article Marie Stein, Un homme parlé au monde, describes how Victor Hugo had spoken more than 100 speeches in the 5 assemblies in which he sat. For example, one of these was the Constituent Assembly of 1848. Victor Hugo also carried his ideology and his passion in different facets of higher French society, such as the Académie Française, the Chamber of Deputies, and the Chamber of Peers. Finally, Britannica explains that Victor Hugo wrote Napoléon le Petit and Histoire d'un crime while he was exiled, And both of these works made fun of Napoleon, of his way of leading the country, and also criticized monarchies all throughout Europe. My friend, heavy becomes the heart of he who does not forgive. Fine. Chapter 2. The Response.